Jake Omen back here with the Wire Wrestling Academy in Fishers, Indiana. And I've told you about Rio Blanco Lucha over here, and I've told you about K1 and Crush and Chaos of War right over there. And today, I'm going to tell you about this very tiny little baby flyer because I was not able to grab a huge flyer when I was at the show. This right here is from a show I did about 1 year ago, actually. I did on February the 3rd of 2024, a show for Pro Wrestling Malta. In the very small island nation of Malta, there is a really awesome professional wrestling fed that was started by a guy named Gianni Valletta. And if you follow All Japan and Dragon Gate, you might have seen some Gianni Valletta before. He's a huge dude, Bruiser Brody-esque, like 6'4", super jacked. And he runs this company in this beautiful island. When I was in Scotland, I believe in 2018, I met a fellow named Ron Corvus, a Hungarian gentleman. We became buddies. It turns out he's very good friends with Gianni Valletta here. And a couple years later, when I reached out to Gianni, Ron was able to help me start a conversation there. And eventually Gianni let me know that I could come over in February of 2024. And I was able to. If you have never seen anything or heard about the island of Malta, I highly recommend looking it up. The place is tropical island paradise. It is gorgeous, one of the most aesthetically pleasing places I've ever been in my entire life. Gianni was kind enough to let me stay in his boathouse for several days. I stayed like 4 days. One day, I stayed with another Japanese wrestler named Shigehiro Irie, who was also on the flyer here. And then after that, there was a really awesome Swiss wrestler, Balthazar, that I was able to stay with for a couple days. And he ended up kind of halfway making me hike some of the small mountains, even though I've never done anything like that. It was terrifying. I didn't want to die. I just said I would do it because I didn't want to seem like a chicken. And the funny thing was, Gianni booked me for the show, but he was actually on a 6-month tour of Japan at the time. I believe his first trip to Dragon Gate. So I never even met the guy. I've yet to meet him in person. We just communicated a lot online. And I went over and I was able to do a coaching session that day with the Pro Wrestling Malta students. They were all really great, really receptive. And then that night, we got to wrestle at this place called Monte Cristo. And I would love to dive into the details revolving that facility, but I don't think I can put some of them online. And I want to go back to Malta. But needless to say, it was a beautiful place. They had a great crowd. I wrestled a guy named Jack Quinn. And it was one of those nights like where there's one of those European crowds. It was just like crazy chanting, all sorts of random stuff all night. And I was halfway through my match when they started some chant that took me a long time to decipher. And it was something along the lines of, Jack's going to call into work on Monday, or something like that. I was like, man, that's a very odd chant to be saying. What does that mean? And then later I asked, and people told me, oh, it's a chant that means I'm beating him up so badly that he's going to Jack is going to have to work from home, is the chant. And they were saying I was beating him up so bad that he was going to have to call in sick on Monday and work from home. So that is my story of Pro Wrestling Malta up here, and a place I cannot wait to go back. It was super beautiful, and the host was super accommodating, as were all of the wrestlers.